For the 4 teams still in contention for offshore sailing's most prestigious prize, the end game will be all about the pursuit of perfection. And with less than 2 weeks of sailing left, there's no margin for error. After leading the race for more than 6 months, Spain's team Telefonica were usurped at the end of leg 7 when they trailed Frank Camas and his team aboard Groupama into Lisbon, Portugal. Yesterday's Ueiras import race gave Telefonica the chance to redress the balance, but amazingly they effectively knocked themselves out of contention right off the start line.
There's some action there, and we see a flag. PUMA and Telefonica have put PUMA under the pump. The flags are flying, and as we thought, this would be an exciting pre-start. We look for the umpire call. Red flag penalty. Well, it looks like Telefonica were the boat penalised.
For the 3rd import race in a row, an unforced error condemned Telefonica to the very back of the fleet.
This is a big manoeuvre now, so they're doing a little bit of a Kiwi here where they're bringing the kite down over the set sail, and then they've got to turn 360 round and then rejoin the race.
Well, what a punishment that is, Peter Lester.
Oh yeah, that's a big penalty to be taking in such a short track.
Compounding the Spanish dilemma was the position of their French rivals, perfectly placed at the front to claim maximum points over the one-time overall leaders.
We're just on the transom of Telefonica as they just finished they're still hoisting this the new sail after their manoeuvre. But looking down forward on the course, Groupama this has just played beautifully into their hands.
Once in front, there was no catching Camas, Groupama claiming their 2nd import race win and stretching their overall lead to 8 points.
Groupama coming through to take this one out. Great race by the Groupama team, and hand goes up and they will be thrilled.
To make matters even worse for Telefonica, America's PUMA, powered by Berg, moved from 4th to 2nd place late in the race, closing to within 5 points overall of Iker Martinez's team.
Well, obviously today is a great day for us. We're making good progress with this 1st place. Telefonica's misfortune helped us. PUMA still finished 2nd, and we can be proud of the work that we've done.
With 2 comparatively short legs and 2 inshore races remaining, just 23 points cover the 4 teams vying for overall victory. And any slip-up in the 4 remaining scoring opportunities will be costly.
In reality, you know, I think it's probably 8 points now between us and Groupama. It's a big number, but that's 2 points in an offshore. We've 2 places in an offshore, so we've just got to knuckle down and keep trying hard and do what we've done in previous legs. But it's not been a good day for us. There's no doubt about that.
Legs 8 and 9 are both significantly shorter than the other offshore stages in the 39,000 nautical mile round the world race. Lisbon to Lorient is less than 2,000 miles, while the sprint to Galway is under 500. And as the legs decrease, the intensity ramps up in what promises to be the most thrilling finale to a Volvo Ocean Race in its 39-year history. Hola and welcome to Lisbon in Portugal, where today the 6 teams vying for supremacy in the 2011-2012 Volvo Ocean Race embark upon leg 8 to Lorient in France. Tagus River, which flows through Lisbon, has borne witness to centuries of Portuguese maritime exploration going back to 1279. Its seafaring heroes, such as Henry the Navigator and Vasco da Gama, are still celebrated for their exploits, which at the time would have been like going to the moon. All in all, a fitting venue for the start of the penultimate ocean leg of this, the 11th edition of sailing's most extreme round-the-world ocean adventure. That's the Belém Tower, which is a ceremonial gateway to Lisbon. And this is the ceremonial farewell from Lisbon for our Volvo Ocean Race sailors. Iker Martinez on Telefonica, well, he's under the pump a bit. They've just not been performing as we've seen them perform to become overall race leaders. Instead, that is the overall race leader, Frank Camas from Groupama. All the formalities today of the ceremonial departure, that's Portugal handing over to France, rather like the Olympic torch, and the blessing of the fleet from Commander Vicinho Silva, chaplain of the Portuguese Marines. Great scenes down here. They've had very big crowds, 30,000+ for the Ueiras import race yesterday, and they're all gathered now, very vocal from Telefonica especially, as we watch Groupama heading out to the racecourse. And this is the state of play. Frank Camas up at the front there, rather reflecting what happened yesterday in the import race. They're stretching away from Telefonica. PUMA Ocean Racing breathing down Telefonica's neck. Campus still in with a shout mathematically, but ooh, it's going to be hard. Amazing, they're all still in contention as we head into the penultimate offshore leg. Jocke, on Telefonica, you've lost your mojo a bit, lost your winning way. How do you get it back?
Yeah, that's a good question, but in the last import we haven't had our best results so far, and but we still, you know, now is a key point of the race, these last 2 legs, and we still only need to, you know, to do good, and we don't need to any kind of combination regarding all the boats. So our mindset is just to do our best. We're still the best boat on offshore points. We have lost our lead because we've been not so good import, but now our mind is all, you know, getting out of here in good shape, good approach to Azores, and then sounds like will be a great finish towards Lorient. So we believe in our team, we believe in our group, and so far we are the only crew not making change. So let's see it, let's do it.
Well, we wish you well, Jocke. You take care out there, and I think it could be pretty spectacular towards the end. Ken Reid, we're hearing from Groupama that they see you as a bigger threat than Telefonica. How does that sit with you?
I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Listen, I don't know if anybody's a bigger or less threat or a bigger threat right now. I mean, it looks like this leg, it's going to be kind of a fast reach out there, and certainly Groupama is good in that. But then it looks like a little bit of hold on and hunker down on the way back. It could be quite a breezy trip into Lorient. So, that gets into boat breaking and you know, a little bit of nasty conditions. So, you know, it's up in the air. This honestly could be anybody's leg. It always is that way. I think it's unfair to say that one person has an advantage over the other right now.
Well, we look forward to it very much and wish you well. Thanks for talking to us, Kenny. Good luck.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Well, Chris Nicholson on camper, you haven't exactly been having the rub of the green, as you might say. How do you engineer a change in your fortunes?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, man. We've been so close so many times. I think we still have to keep going with pretty much as per plan. Forecast doesn't look too bad for us at the moment. So I think with the forecast as well, some heavy air running towards the end of Lorient, which will suit us nicely. So most looking forward to this leg.
So what you were saying yesterday, it's not all doom and gloom.
No, absolutely not, man. And even if the forecast wasn't in our favour, it still wouldn't be. You know, we've got a terrific team here, and we're gonna fight and push this thing all the way to the end of Galway.
We wish you well. Good luck out there, and take care.
Thanks, man.
On the water with Groupama, doing what looks like a little bit of a practice start, timing their run. With me in the commentary box is Peter Lester, world champion sailor. And Peter, this is setting up for a right little cracker.
Oh, this will be a good leg, and the first phase we're going to be privileged enough to watch and to talk about it, and it's a pretty simple course that we're going to have. It's just a reach up. It's similar to yesterday, up under the bridge. It's a left-hand turn, port rounding, and you'll get that beautiful vista of the city as they come back down, as they exit the harbour, through the gate, around the turning mark, and then off out to the Azores. And all the tricky wind forecasting, Martin, I think this will be fascinating. Initially pretty quiet, a bit of two-sail reaching as we look here at the isobaric bars. We look at Lisbon, there's the weather patterns out, two-sail reach over towards the Azores, the Azores high. You can see it there sitting. That could be a factor because that will compress the fleet in lighter winds. Then they come round and then they blast, and the wind will get harder and harder as they finish in Lorient.
Well, they're talking up to 40 knots. That's going to be pretty hairy. There's the President of Portugal as we look out across looking out across towards the start line here in Lisbon. And on the water commentating for us is Mark Cavell, a champion sailor himself, from the Olympic silver medalist and a Volvo Ocean Racer too. Give us your outlook there on the water, Mark Cavell.
Well, with about 4 minutes 9 seconds to go, it is fairly flat water. Still about an hour of ebb tide to flush out of this river. And the big difference from yesterday is the wind is sort of cross from the city here. As we're just out on the right-hand side of the line as Camper sliced past our stern. Great shots here. It's bright sunshine, wind, 6 boats ready to go. We've got all the ingredients for a great race and a wonderful start from this fantastic city.
Mark, this is an interesting little trip up the river and back. We talked an awful lot about the current and the tide yesterday. What's the tidal situation, and where do you expect them to be heading to get the bragging rights before they head out into the Atlantic Ocean?
Well, they've got foul tide, as I said, for an hour, and they're going to push out to the sides of the course on the way down. Just off the race village is the shallowest area, which is just down from the start, so they're going to be looking to nudge that but not get too close. I know a couple of boats have already gone aground in the practice, but then after that they can go all the way to the edges. So it's going to be about the current and just picking up those puffs of breeze with just 2:55 on the clock.
Okay, we're looking at virtual eye, and now we're looking at our numbers 1 and 2. The leader, overall race leader, PUMA on the left, absolutely on song at the moment, and a little more out of tune is Telefonica. It's Camper slide round their stern. And the tactics here, what do you think, as we watch the presidential party, what are the tactics do you think going to be on the start line?
Well, things to look out for, Martin, will be the boats are going to start on port, and of course if anyone wants to stick it in there on starboard, really you can upset the apple cart. But we can see already on Telefonica they've got code 0 set up, they've got the furled sails hoisted, so the angle along the waterfront up under the bridge, they're going to blast along there with code 0s as we come inside 2 minutes. But getting the time on distance to the start correct on port, which is quite tricky. We look at Camper, you can see they've got their code 0 on the deck, and they're going to start into Genoa. Now look across then at Abu Dhabi, we can also see they've got a sail on the foredeck. So the crews are going to be busy, but time on distance, getting the timing correct on port tack, and then the afterguards will have to be very mindful if anyone attacks on starboard, and the way Mike Sanderson and Sanya are setting up there, they're going to possibly come back on starboard, and that could be a bit of a roadblock for the boats on port.
Okay, Mark Cavell, if you were driving, where would you want to be?
Well, the safe money is to start on port with the majority of the fleet, but you do have the starboard advantage, and we've seen both Camper and Abu Dhabi up there on the right-hand side, and they might be looking at the starboard approach, which will certainly be punchy coming back at the port fleet.
You talk about the breeze looking at the flags on shore and what we can see on the water. How puffy is it? It was pretty moving around yesterday.
Well, with 44 on the clock, it's very puffy. We're really going to see these boats move forward and then suck back as the breeze comes up and down. So we're going to be looking for some lucky gusts here, and there's a group of 3 up on that starboard side. Coming in on starboard, Abu Dhabi, PUMA and Camper.
Well, look at this. Here's a split. We've got 3 on starboard, 3 on port, and the starboard boats have the rights. As we come down, 30 seconds, 17 seconds to go. We can see PUMA have gone for a hoist, and it's PUMA coming across on starboard. They have the rights, and Camper are also coming in on starboard. As we come up to the start, 3 to go. We're into the start from Lisbon through to Lorient, and there goes the cannon, and we're away with PUMA jibing as the gun goes. Telefonica down to leeward. Where's Camper? They were up on that windward side. Camper have started right at the pin end, and that pin end start, Martin, could be pretty tidy if they can get pressure and move forward. Up goes the flag there. That'll be for Port starboard on Groupama. So the port attack by Frank Camus and his team. Well, look at that.
Mark Cavell, call it as you saw it.
Well, we were down on the committee boat, and the time and distance from Kenny Reid on PUMA was absolutely perfect. But crossing the line slightly after that was Camper, but they have now got the lion's share of the breeze. They are to windward, they're in less current, and it's definitely Camper taking it on. Saying that, I'm seeing PUMA squeeze forward as well.
We're seeing a green flag on the Empire boat, so no protest there. That was Groupama on a port starboard with Telefonica, and that protest has been dismissed. Looking a little bit untidy here on Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi have got a problem. It looks like they just had a problem in the pre-start. They haven't got their downwind sail up as the crew immediately into the working to grind the sail to the top of the mast.
That's messy.
It looks messy. It doesn't look like they've got a sheet. Have they got a sheet on there? Oh, they've got a big twist. It's on the wrong side of the forestay. Wow,
it's getting worse. It's Justin Slattery trying to sort it out. What a mess. And here we've got PUMA absolutely flying along in the middle of the river there with Kenny Reid at the helm. Get that face. That's telling its story. And there's Camper on his inside as Kenny Reid glances across. And Mark Cavell, Camper there working the wall, but what's the tide doing and where's the right place to be?
Well, the tide is still ebbing and Camper should be in less current, but PUMA has managed to pick up those puffs just further out off the wall and has pulled ahead very, very nicely. But it really is, as I see, we're just down by Sanya. She's just picking up some pressure. They are just keep moving forward, pulsing forward as the pressure comes off. And there's a number of buildings as we go down this coast that will cause them issues. We're going past the media centre, the big white building there, and that will cause a little bit of a lee. Then there's various castles, and there's a bit of a container port down the line as well. So really it'll be the tactics of how far you stand out to get a clearer breeze. But you do pay a tidal disadvantage as you come out here.
Well, we had PUMA pouncing yesterday. They've done it again, Pete.
Yeah,
great start.
Kenny Reid started on port, and that has given them a good advantage over Camper in the windward position. And then third, you've got Sanya. So first little bits of advantage there to PUMA. Groupama clean. The team that had a few difficulties was Abu Dhabi off the line. And that, although PUMA are slightly out in the current, they have got a nice angle, and so they can just, when it goes light, put the bow up of PUMA. See the distinctive bow coming out of the water.
Young Rome Kirby on the handles as they do a little bit more grinding in. And they're flying along. Mark, they're all just really motoring. These are gorgeous conditions for them flying down this Tagus River.
Well, it's incredibly flat. You could water ski on this.
You probably could behind them. That's the Belém Tower we're looking at now, UNESCO World Heritage Site from back in 1519. And that was, as we were saying, a ceremonial gateway to Lisbon. Now it's going to be farewelling them as they come on their way back and head out into the Atlantic, but for the time being they're heading upriver and they'll be going under the 25th of April bridge. And Kenny Reid already getting a nice lead in here as Camper tries to work closer to the wall and look for some relief from the current.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. There's a little bit of a shadowing effect. The wind is actually coming off the land, obviously, at that angle. We can see the distinctive black sails of Camper. Camper have got a bit more pressure there now. Now look at the effect there of PUMA in the current. They're a little bit further out into the stream, and Camper have just snuck round the end there, and Camper are pressed up. PUMA lead Camper, but the inside, will the inside pay in a little less current? I think off the line, Kenny Reid, lovely port start on port jibe, and then he used that little bit of angle in the lighter air just to come up underneath Camper.
Beautiful sailing by Kenny Reid. Mark, we're pretty close into the shore there. What's the situation with water? We're on the tide's still going out, and they're getting pretty close into the edge here.
Well, it's my understanding that they can actually sail right up to this wall, as both Camper and Puma are doing, together with Sanya. But looking back, I was watching Telefonica edge further and further out off the wall, trying to get a bit more breeze out here. But as she does, she falls into that current, and I think she's decided this is a bad move, and she's started to actually come up onto the line to
the current certainly having an effect, and Telefonica, there's Iker Martinez, you can see just glancing over his shoulder, and less current closer to the shore. The
kind of interesting, that little ding-dong between Groupama and Telefonica, where we saw the protest flag again. It's a bit of a repeat of yesterday, where you've got two people scrapping and losing out in the bigger picture.
Yeah, but in the context of the leg, Mark,
the whole leg,
it's nothing. But certainly we are seeing boats willing to engage. But the Puma has extended. We just look at the relative boat speeds. And Puma have got 11.7 knots. Not seeing it. Look at that lovely water cannon. The festival departure for the teams. It's gone pretty light there for Groupama.
Mark, where are you?
Well, we're just off the starboard side down underneath Puma, and it really is stop-start. I mean, for a second I look up and Camper's hardly got anything, and now she's rocketing along. And but I think that Kenny Reid and Puma Ocean Racing, powered by Berg, has done a really nice job of stepping out just out off the wall enough, but not in the current so much. So she's riding this nice line between getting nice puffs off the land and staying far enough off the wall to get some decent pressure. But as I say that, Camper is romping in again.
Kenny Reid, he's a little maestro, isn't he, on the water here? And look at the speed
difference. And put that down to pressure. You know, these boats accelerate, and if one boat gets a little squirt of wind,
well, look at Mike Sanderson, 14 plus.
Now, Martin, the team that's really paid a bit of a price here by going out into the current was Telefonica, and now they are working, they're fighting to get back towards the city side. In the tidal relief, there's Kelvin Harrop. He'll be assisting Kenny Reid with the tactics. Brad Jackson sitting down, he's trimming the mainsail. Pretty light, pretty tricky as they head up. As we pan back, see Camper is still right there with them.
Nicholson at the helm. He's not looking quite as stressed as he was yesterday. I mean, it was a look that we haven't actually seen before in this Volvo Ocean Race.
Little puff there, you can see the boats leaning into it.
Oh, Camper heeling right over now.
Now watch the pressure build here and the acceleration, big bow wash coming off both boats.
See that dark patch on the water in front of their bows.
That's a good little squirt, Martin. Look, they load up and off they go. Speeds will be rocketing up. I can look at my telemetry here, and the speed over the ground for Camper showing it just on 14 knots. I suspect look at Camper now. She's hooked into a nice little puff, but it's puffy and swirly as they come up under the bridge.
Puffy and swirly, Peter's saying. Mark, is that how you're reading it?
Absolutely. The differences between no breeze and a lot of breeze, I think it's over 10 knots. It really is, and they're just about to come up under more buildings as they come up to the bridge. So it wouldn't be surprising if the whole thing stops again. And Puma's been doing a really nice job of actually riding these puffs out and down. So when it goes light, they can actually squeeze back up and close the door on Puma, and that's exactly what they're doing now. Camper seems to be just holding that line all the time high.
See the little squirts of dark water, green, or the darker colours on the water indicates a bit more pressure. And Mike Sanderson, he's got a bit of a roll on there.
He's got the bit between his teeth, 15 knots, extraordinary.
Telefonica really dropped off the back of that bunch after heading out into the stream, but they've got back, well, they're getting back in contact with Groupama. And we'll go back and have a wee bit of a look, see if we can, we're not going to find Abu Dhabi, as we know they had a few difficulties off the line. As they head down the river, the punching tide. Of course, they'll come around the mark, and then they'll have the effect of the tide under the keel pushing them back. They'll come back pretty quick.
Here, the keel being swung there, and that great grinding noise sounds a bit like something that's stuck in the waste disposal unit.
So boat speeds up and down, Martin. I'm seeing, you know, wind speed we've got around 14 knots, and then boat speed, they're jumping anywhere from 12 to 18 knots, depending if they're in pressure or not. And if one boat gets in pressure and another boat's in a slow spot or with lighter winds, it makes it quite tricky. Camper still holding that windward position. Ken Reid, who is first off the line. Mark, I just get the impression Camper have snuck up a little bit on Puma.
Yes, they have. This is the first time that Camper actually looked like they could have rolled Puma. But now both boats in the same pressure, and just Puma just squeezes away because they're a little bit off the wall, and they can, I think there's a touch more breeze as the wind bounces down off the city.
What could be the effect of the bridge here, Mark, as they go up to, I mean, there's a lot of metal and concrete in that thing.
Yeah, just looking at the structure to windward of them, there's a big shield, which is will be a shielding effect of like a big roof, which will shield them. But these boats are so close now, I think what happens to one will happen to the other. But Camper is really starting, if Puma doesn't creep up anymore, Camper they are in the passing lane.
So Camper beginning to hit their straps a little bit on this opening stanza of the Volvo Ocean Race.
And
so
if
they head out, it's on leg 8.
Just in terms of the rules, the windward boat, that's Camper required to keep clear. And you can see now Kenny Reid pushing to sail around the bow of Camper, wanting to get in line. So this is just a repositioning here of Puma on Camper, just to close down the Camper. As Camper gets another little gust, we can see Stu Bannatyne down to leeward, just calling the boat on boat to Chris Nicholson. Now the boats go a little bit quiet. Here's the shot from Camper looking across at Puma.
It's incredible how reactive they are. I mean, it is like sailing a 70-foot skiff, isn't it? I mean, they're just the way the boats respond to the touch, the breeze. They're astonishing machines.
Yeah, they certainly do. They are so powered up. They really just power forward. As we look across at Camper now, it looks like they're in a lighter spot. The leading edge of the Genoa just collapsing a little bit. And what that has meant is that now Puma are clear ahead. If the boats are overlapped, the boat on the inside, which would have been Camper, could have called for water. And that's why Kenny Reid has come up to sail around the bow of Camper, just to take away that option. We can see quite close to the wharves. So Ken Reid now certainly in a stronger position tactically, as he's ahead and slightly to windward of Camper's line. It's going to get pretty quiet. Look under that ship up there, Martin, as the boats go a little bit quiet.
Oh, they're playing the keel here?
Yeah, you can hear the Kenny Reid just
look at the mast. There's optical illusion there of Camper squeezing under the bridge. They've actually got 70 metres of clearance, so not an issue as they go under the 25th of April bridge.
What do you mean 70 metres? I just had to duck.
Yeah, but you're a big fella. No.
Well, this is going to get pretty funky here, guys, because they're actually very, very close to a couple of really big ships just to their left. And that was a very, very timely move from Kenny Reid to come up on their line, because as they start to get another, I think one of the last puffs they're going to get before they get onto this these big lees of the ships, as now Camper comes up. And this might be an opportunity for the boats behind me, Sanya and Group Armour, to catch up a bit. And it may well play into Telefonica's hands. Telefonica is still well out in the current, but if these guys fall into a hole, Telefonica will come back into this.
Slight difference here in philosophy. You can see Camper have just gone to windward, and Puma have come down a little bit. They've just gone to the right. You can see the tracking lines, the red tracking line of Puma wanting to move away from there's that big ship that's parked there that shall have a big wind shadow.
Okay, well, there's the speeds, and Kenny Reid, and just a little bit more pressure. Camper, that's the ship that we were talking about.
Well, Camper's got a nice little roll on there. They come through under the containers. There's their Genoa coming up on deck for the next leg. So the call's been made what Genoa they want to use. It must be, well, it will be a tighter angle coming back. And if we have a look on the bag there, we might see it. It looked like a, don't know what it was.
Couldn't quite see the number.
I didn't quite get it.
There's the little stack of telemetry on the mast, giving him all his wind speed, direction and boat speed.
It's Andrew McLean there, who it's really wonderful to see him in the America's Cup, Martin. I think he's on, wouldn't be surprised to see Andrew McLean on Emirates Team New Zealand's America's Cup boat as a grinder later, or next year.
Ken Reid hanging on in those black sails, courtesy of Virtual Eye. And what we're sailing up to now is a mark which is going to be situated off an older part of the city, which we'll talk about when we get up there, the Commerce Square. And they're going to go up and around the turning mark there that we're seeing on Virtual, that little yellow dot. Then they head back down and then around the mark at the bottom and off out to sea.
Look at this, Martin. It's gone
very light out
quiet
in the middle
there for Groupama, and Telefonica have sailed round their bow. So Telefonica didn't have the greatest start, but they've got round in front of Groupama under the bridge. So it went very quiet and very funky, as Mark was saying. And that,
well, Mark, it sounds like a bit of a lottery at the moment out there.
Well, these two leading boats did really well to get through this, and I've got to say, PUMA is sailing just the best course, because every time they get a breeze, they use it to get down off the wall. And then when it goes light, then that's the time to creep up again. And they are in nice solid breeze. As I look back at Camper, stuck very, very light, and she can't come up anymore because there is a dock in the way. But looking back...
Oh, look at PUMA now, whoa.
Yeah, big split here. PUMA in good breeze. She's out of the wind shadow. She's up and off. Camper are stuck in no wind. And
great wall of containers on that ship. That must be having a profound effect on the trailing boat.
But it was almost like a gate, a wind gate, and this team PUMA, who won the start, they've jumped here. They've got a good advantage. Remember, the boats almost overlap with PUMA and Camper, but Camper went closer to the shore. They ran out of wind, and that meant that PUMA could really take advantage of a bit better angle and better wind speed. Now, I've just been looking at Virtual as well, Martin, and after the problems Abu Dhabi had, look where they've gone. They're right out midstream.
Now we're looking
at Abu Dhabi. We'll just go, Mark, Abu Dhabi, you know, they're a long way back, but right now they're out midstream, but they've probably got a bit better pressure. How do they look?
Well, they're a long way back, but like I said, if this fleet up on the wall does spend a bit of time in no breeze, Abu Dhabi will be marching through. And that's really their only hope down there, just crossing the middle, right out in the current. But PUMA's still doing okay. She's getting the odd little squeeze, and so's Camper.
You can see the puffiness on the water as we go up the Tagus River towards this older part of this historic maritime city. The black sails of PUMA that Justin Slattery can see well up off his bow.
Well, now PUMA's gone quiet. Camper is still quiet. It's interesting because if Ian Walker, by going midstream, he's punching current, but if you can actually hook into a bit of breeze, it's a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? You say, well, what do we want? Punch a bit of current, bit of breeze. But PUMA...
Peter, the other thing that's happening out here is it's slowly heading. It's actually making trimming on and on. I know it's going lighter, but it is heading, so it's making it a little bit harder to lay. Just looking on their line, they look like they're laying still, but if it heads any more, then it will be difficult. And we'll see those A sails down.
Well, we saw that they were preparing the Genoa up on
that's a wise move
on Camper, so
Martin,
maybe they'll be hooking that up.
What we mean by heading is the wind direction is actually coming closer to the bow. The angle is getting narrower, and once that happens, right now they've got an A4 on. They're want to go to something that reaches a little at a closer angle. Look, behind, Camper's pressed up. Sanya earned nothing. And I think the boat on Sanya's left, and who would have that been? That must be someone like Groupama.
Groupama.
They didn't have anything either. You see how soft the leading edge is, so it's really quite light and funky as Mike Sanderson readjusts his hat going, this is not good.
On board with Sanya. See how soft Groupama is behind there.
Very.
It's very, very soft. And they're in the lee of these container ships, and they're not liking it. It's Axel Magdal, the navigator, up on the, sitting up out on the side there, and there's the mark. There's the old city. Telefonica have, well, they've really climbed up away from Sanya and Groupama, but it is.
Well, Sanya stopped. They've stopped now. Again, Mark will be able to give us a good eyeball. The boats in on the wharves there are very quiet, Mark. What about, let's have another little look at Abu Dhabi. How are they looking there midstream, punching that current?
Well, you've got a better view on it from virtual, but I would say Abu Dhabi's actually going to be past these trailing three, as it's actually I can see Groupama looking like they're jibing out. Let's see, Groupama is a long way away, but there's definitely manoeuvres there if we can get any eyes on them.
We'll have a wee bit of a look. We're on board Abu Dhabi now, looking across. I would say Abu Dhabi have made a pretty nice sort of recovery here by just Ian Walker. They've come out and sort of said, okay, we're prepared to punch a bit of current, but have we got better breeze, better angle?
On board with Abu Dhabi, and the guy just to the left of Ian Walker is Louis Figo. Just lost sight of him at the moment, and now there he is. He's going to be one of the jumpers. He's got this life jacket on there. Louis Figo, he's a Portuguese international midfielder. 127 caps he had, and he was European Footballer of the Year, FIFA World Player of the Year, and one of the few people who played for both Barcelona and Real Madrid, those great footballing rivals, and so we'll be seeing him jump shortly.
Look at that, Martin. Abu Dhabi have certainly got round the bow of Groupama.
Well, Groupama look like they just put a 360 in.
Wow, they've parked up. There's no window in on the beach. So this could be, you know, you think, well, it's a long leg, but it's not as long as those other ocean legs, and Groupama will want to keep in touch, because remember, going into this, the team that Groupama fear probably the most is this team. Kenny Reid, PUMA. And if PUMA can get a bit of a march on Groupama, even leaving the harbour, how telling could that be in terms of the next 5 or 6 days?
So
Jib up. There's a jib up there, so as Mark pointed out earlier, the angle is getting finer, and look at that, it's either that they've gone soft and the wind has come forward. We can see the sail is not full anymore. Will PUMA actually go to a genoa? They've got a genoa hoisted. If you look underneath, well, they've got a genoa hoisted because they're nearly at the mark. But Camper are coming in. They're going to come back at PUMA here. PUMA now have got a bit of pressure. So the reason PUMA have got that genoa up, they're actually quite close to the turning mark. As they now press up, they've got a bit of breeze.
Well, Camper's still quite a long way behind. It's a big leap that PUMA have got there. Look at that, that's amazing.
Yeah, Camper now going for their genoa.
Creak and the groan of the lines on the winch barrel as they grind that headsail up. In some breeze now. PUMA Ocean Racing powered by Berg, charging in there.
It's the mark, so the A4 will be furled up, then dropped. Here was the furl going on. Good. Need to get a good furl, and then the retrieval of the furled sail. Let's just see how they handle that. We can see the boards going down, getting ready for the it's not going to be an upwind leg. They'll lay through to the start-finish area gate. So PUMA, after winning the start, they got a beautiful port start. They were clean. They've extended down leg one. They're now coming to the turning mark. The yellow Volvo Ocean Race inflatable mark there.
Kenny Reid with his left hand there, pressing the buttons on his dashboard to manoeuvre the keel, swing it up onto the windward side.
Ken Reid just giving a bit of input to the trimmers, saying as we exit the mark we're going to have good pressure, which as now Camper come in doing the same manoeuvre. They're going to have a bit of push going back, tide under them, or current under them, as looking off Camper across at PUMA. PUMA, they got good pressure. They're not actually on the wind, they're two sail reaching, so the genoa will be eased as they head back now to the start finishing line gate.
Jet's coming up!
As Camper, down comes the furled sail.
They would have loved to have dropped that to the windward side, but it's fallen to the leeward side, and are hanging on to it, and they'll probably get that after the tack. That'll then become the windward side. But they've got the furl, and looking back down the course, it looks like Abu Dhabi's round those three boats. So Abu Dhabi is finally back into third position here.
So that worked out pretty nicely for Abu Dhabi. They didn't want to follow the bunch after their problems off the line, so Camper around the mark. Now that furled sail will be on the windward side, so the Daryl Wislang will be able to drop the sail, the furled sail onto the deck. As Stu Benentine, he's had a Minoprio grinding, Tony Ray gritting his teeth. So Camper is second.
That's a good lead for Ken Reid, though, isn't it? I mean, that's
solid.
Great sailing. He's really on fire, as they say at the moment. And
this is
Abu Dhabi, what a leap they've
made the recovery. They have made a fabulous recovery after really a bit of a horror start. They had a twist in the Jenica off the line. Now they are looking for the furl as Abu Dhabi furl the sail up. And will they retrieve on the windward side or let it drop to leeward as Camper did, and then retrieve after the tack? Very distinctive bow sections of Abu Dhabi, very full. Ian Walker.
This is the Commerce Square here, just off the turning mark here. It was the Palace Square, and it's destroyed in 1755 by an earthquake. The effects of which, there was a huge tsunami as well. The effects of that were felt all the way up to Cornwall in England. Can you imagine that, about 3 meters? Real piece of history there, the Commerce Square, which is just to the right-hand side of these guys as they head downriver on Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing.
Good recovery.
Good, terrific recovery. They were absolutely dead last, and just goes to show how your fortunes can shift in this game.
There's an override there. See that rope going round the winch. Normally the safe tail, they'll self-tail the sail, but look at that. The layers of rope have cleated themselves off, so we call that an override. Now at some stage that has to be cleared. They can put a short strop in there to clear it, but they will need to clear that override. So that happened in the mark rounding. As we look at Telefonica coming in, there's Andrew Cape grinding. He is the...
all hands on deck, he's the navigator. It is like that business with the import race, isn't it, as well? I mean, this is a sort of mini import race, and you are short-handed. Everybody has to do their turn on these tight manoeuvres.
But Mark, quite a big spread, you know, short leg, well, relatively short leg compared with others. These boats, Telefonica and Groupama, are already a long way behind PUMA. You know, we keep saying not that significant, but maybe in this league it will be significant.
Well, let's just remind ourselves of the split that this leg was won by. It was, you know, less than a mile, so and that was after an Atlantic crossing, and we've seen this again and again in this wonderful race, how close the finishes are. So you can't deny that every single boat length is important. Telefonica's just got a little bit of an issue here, that the kite has come down on the spreaders, and they're not trimming that new sail, and they're having to rehoist So a little bit of an issue there before they get going again. But I think what really sorted them out, actually split this fleet, is these 3 boats getting caught up underneath that container port.
When we went round the mark, we did see an override on Abu Dhabi. For Abu Dhabi fans, they've cleared that. There's not a problem while we're away, but it's now Telefonica had a bit of an issue coming round the mark. The retrieval of their furled sail, it's a little bit untidy, but they'll be pleased to be well ahead of Group AMA, who trail Sanya. So it was interesting, Mark, as they came down the fleet. The first 2 boats really got through that wind gate, but the boats at the back, like Sanya and Group AMA, really got caught in no wind, and that's pretty costly for those teams.
Yeah, we were shooting down the course, so I couldn't actually see what was happening to the 3 boats, but what I definitely could say, they were all at different angles, and they were as light as you like. But there's still some very nice pressure coming down, and we're just sat here by this leeward mark, and there's a lot of current running on the mark, a little bit of a bow wave on the mark. Maybe we get a shot of that later as Sanya come in. But that's showing that the boats are going to head straight back out into the current and do the opposite of what they did down the river, and really get back out into the middle of the current. We've still got about a half an hour of ebb tide to run, and Sanya now squared away. They'll tack, and the new sail will fall down onto the deck nicely as they come round this leeward mark now.
Well, Mark, I can tell you here by looking at my magic screen, there must be about 2 knots of current, because speed through the water I'm seeing on Puma at speed through the water 12 knots, sometimes 10. Speed over the ground is anything 12 or 13 knots. So you've got a couple of knots, a knot and a half of current running out there.
Absolutely, and Group AMA still having to stem that current as it goes light for them, for their manoeuvre. So they've still got that 2 knots against them as they're coming back. And I wonder if this import, this leg start, you know, they want to be leading into Lorient in their home port, and they're looking at the moment like they're going to be last out of the river.
And with the current under the boats heading now back down the river, really the leaders have extended. And coupled with that, as they head out under the bridge again, there seems to be more wind down at the start-finishing line than there is at this turning mark. Group AMA coming into the turning mark in very, very light winds.
And dead last. Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? And there's the buoy that Mark was talking about, and we saw a shot of it before. You could see the current pushing against it, and this is what Group AMA is having to fight at the moment. And all this is slowing them down. And how crucial could this possibly be over the next week if they, you know, as Mark was saying, the closest of the finishes that we've enjoyed so far in this Volvo Ocean Race, it can be all a matter of minutes, and it's all very well saying, well, you know, there's a long way to go, but at this stage they've got to look 6.5, 7 minutes, nearly 8 minutes. That's a lot.
Now, I was just trying to think back for all the starts that we've been following and commentating on. I think this is the biggest split I've seen out of all the leg starts. And given that it's a short leg, we might look back and say that 6 minutes spread over the fleet, how significant will that be by the time they get to Lorient?
And it's interesting that there is such a big split when there has actually been a bit of breeze around, unlike, say, in Miami, where we had, you know, at one stage absolutely nothing, the boats were static, and it wasn't as big a split as this.
No, this is. I think this is, you know, it's a significant split between Puma and especially Group AMA, given going into this, you know, the Group AMA crew have actually identified Puma as a real threat to their lead.
Ken Reid's viewpoint as they approach the 25th of April bridge. I think we've just had a jumper there, and I think, yeah, it looks like he's gone and being picked up. Well, off camper, I can tell you that was Manuel Delgado, the Vice Mayor of Lisbon. He's had his swim, and sorry, we just, as we go under this amazing bridge, a couple of little facts here. It cost 32 million when they were built, which is now 225 million US dollars. You think it looks like the Golden Gate for the colour, the Golden Gate in San Francisco, but it was built by the company that constructed the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge, not that Golden Gate. So
Maybe they had a bit of tape left, Martin.
could have been. A little kind of extra little factoids. It featured in a James Bond movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. So there you go. If you can imagine, it was a terrible film, actually. Great book, terrible film, and George Lazenby driving Diana Rigg over that bridge.
Well, Puma.
Dave, I'll ask about that for a bit of a little factoid. Did you enjoy that?
I like your research. I'm just looking here, Martin, at the numbers as we look at Camper coming through under the bridge. Camper's speed through the water is 11 knots, but their speed over the ground, and that's what we're seeing coming up on virtual, is actually 13 knots. So even though there's only a half an hour of ebb tide left, it's still running at a couple of knots, and that's one of the reasons why the fleet have become so spread out since that turning mark. Once the leading boats got round, really, they got in the river and they're off, and that really has spread the field. As we look back at Ian Walker, he's got a good bit of pressure there, 14 knots. And,
well, we do like those pictures. We do like those. They do like these conditions at Abu Dhabi. Okay, so I think we might be having a little chat with Luis Figo, who's one of our jumpers. Luis Figo, welcome. How do you feel about jumping off the back of this boat?
Well, I prefer to be in the boat than to jump on the water, but it's okay, it's okay.
What's this?
Great experience.
What is it like as an experience? What has impressed you?
Well, it's amazing how the people here work together like a team. I think it's fantastic. I just wanted to help, but I don't know how. But looks like you want to be part of them. It's very nice.
Now, have you ever done anything like this before?
No, it's my first time, and it's been a great experience.
Okay, now can you swim?
Sorry?
Can you swim?
Well, I'm gonna try.
Luis Figo, footballing legend, thanks for talking to us, and enjoy your jump when the time comes.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. Luis Figo there, absolute footballing legend. So a little bit of fun on Abu Dhabi here, and as we enjoy the departure from Lisbon, heading down towards the Atlantic Ocean. And
Martin, isn't it interesting? You know, a legend footballer, part of a team sport. He hops on another team game and part of this, a crew of a Volvo 70, and he's very quick to compliment the team aspect of sailing on one of these boats.
It's what we hear. We hear it a lot with we've had a lot of different sports people getting on these boats, and it's something that they do say. I mean, the team ethos is so, you've got to work as a team to make these boats go, and professional sports people sure understand that aspect of it. Lovely shot here, some bit of visual art as we see Puma absolutely got the bit between the teeth now. She's romping along here. Mark, where are you now?
We are, we've stayed back to see the last boat round the mark, and we are now doing about 40 knots up the river as I'm slowly being shortened by these waves. And it really is a testimony to how far the leaders have got away, on the basis that we left that leeward mark a while back, and we've still only halfway up the fleet. So what a spread, and we're making all our efforts to get back up to the leaders to get you some shots.
Okay, Luis Figo about to depart from Abu Dhabi. Ready, thumbs up, a big shake of the hand for Ian Walker. And he's going to get the instructions as to when to depart.
He's going
what
high
kind
side.
of style? Okay, here we go. He's on the high side. What kind of style has he got? Whoa! Oh, it's a real jump.
Not too bad. I mean, it was very good.
Well, we accuse footballers of diving for other reasons, but that was pretty neat. So you'll talk about that for a very long time, because it is a fairly amazing experience. In fact, he's being swept down the river past his rescue boat. I hope they can pick him up okay. Good fun on Abu Dhabi there, and I think we might have a few more to go that we haven't yet seen. There's somebody on Telefonica, Marcelino Balza, who is with Loway, the luxury handbags and the like. Have the girls talking about how much they'd like to get their hands on a Loway bag. if we get to see that departure from Telefonica. Okay, so we're back on board with Puma, and they're just going past on their right-hand side this amazing thing here, which is the monument to the discoveries. That's the virtual side of it, and they're just going past the real side now. Ken Reid we're going to now.
Kenny, how much of that start was in preparation there, knowing the course?
Say again?
How much of that start there was in preparation?
I would say very little. That start was called winging it, and fortunately we wung it in the right direction. That was probably a little risky at this stage in the race, but what the heck? You only live once.
You only live once. Oh, Ken Reid, excellent. That's you only live once. You only live twice. That was the other Bond movie, wasn't it? So here we go. I love that. Wung it. So he's wung it.
Yeah, he wung it all right.
I wonder if he,
but it was interesting.
I wonder if he can wung the whole thing.
It's the whole thing of doing a port start. Obviously got in there. He was just a little bit uncommitted. The gap opened up for him because there was a bit of action between
Telefonica
and Groupama. Thanks very much. Take that. I'll take the bouquet. And Puma have really got this little lead that they've got, Martin, could be significant. And we'll just wait and see down track over the next few days what that all means. But Puma coming through now, they're heading back near the start finishing line, but Kenny Reid and the Puma team will be very happy with their start of this leg.
Okay, now just a quick whiz round our commentators here, because we've just we're going off the television site in a couple of minutes. And we will be staying on air on VolvoOceanRacing.com on the net. So, Mark Cavell, as they head out, your thoughts on this departure and what lies ahead for these guys?
Well, this has been a great start, a great opportunities for the people of Lisbon to see the boats perform, and a very, very stretched out fleet. I look back and I can hardly see Groupama back down, but we're going to be doing some pretty exciting footage on the Volvo Ocean Race. You've got some live interviews coming out through the race. If you tune into the Volvo Ocean Race website, you're going to see some great stuff, all brought to you through the satellite connectivity by Inmarsat. And I'm sure you'll be able to watch these interviews live from the racing in the next few days.
We look forward to that very much indeed. Mark Cavell, stay with us as we go onto the internet in another minute or so. Peter Lester, a quick wrap-up from you.
Well, for me, obviously, it's been a wonderful time here, and yesterday's race was a classic. And I got to believe, you know, are we going to witness during this leg of the Volvo Ocean Race, are we going to come to the end and think, aha, we're very close to having a winner?
Well, we do wonder. The mathematics are absolutely fascinating. We've been pored over the computer working out who has to do what as to where they're going to go. And Pete, it's still wide open.
No, it is wide open, but what's significant is the boat that Groupama feared the most is actually in the lead. And look, I think that's significant.
And not insignificant that the group lead, that Groupama, the overall race leader, is right at the back of the fleet as we exit this absolutely fabulous port. It's been a great stopover here in Lisbon. This is one of the most magnificent maritime cities in the world. It's been great being here with the Volvo Ocean Race, as it is poised so delicately. So from Portugal, from Lisbon, we wish you a very good afternoon.
That's course there, is it?
Ready?
It's looking good.
I can't see any compass, so I'm putting on pretty much on the wing guide.
You coming back to me at all?
So welcome back to our coverage of the Volvo Ocean Race Leg 8 start from Lisbon. We've seen PUMA disappear, well, not out of sight, but they're well in the lead. Second boat here we're looking at the moment is Campo, and it's been a pretty intriguing start, Pete, that Peter Lester, because you know we've got you know, PUMA just really seeing it and getting the best of it, and Campo hanging on in. But I think we might be having a chat with somebody. Here we are. Daryl Wislang, you're hanging in there.
Yeah, we had a good start there at the pin end of the line to windward, and just a matter of working the puffs and trimming hard down the wharf. So they were right in this. So this next stop the Azores, hopefully.
What are you expecting?
Expecting a little bit come out here, basically crack off a bit. I think the breeze is meant to sort of be around the 15 knots, and hopefully just reach off towards the Azores. The high is meant to move slightly to the south, and hopefully we'll be able to just get around the Azores without too much of a park up.
Now Daryl coming out of here in second spot, good for morale. What's the spirit like on board?
Oh, it's good, you know, like every day we come out racing, we're out here to win. There's nothing we leave to chance. We're trying our hardest the whole time. So, you know, all the boys are still hanging in there bloody well.
Now we talked to Nico before. You deserve a bit of a shift of fortunes. What do you have to do to get it? Have you been reading the tea leaves or something? I mean, you could do with a bit of luck to go your way.
Yeah. I mean, everyone needs a bit of luck every now and again, and be good if it was our turn. Hopefully we get some nice heavy air running after the Azores, and we just rocket into Lorient in first place.
Well, that would be lovely. We wish you well with your endeavours, and when it gets a bit blowy out there, you guys take care. Lovely talking to you. Good luck for the rest of it.
Will do. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Daryl.
See ya.
Daryl Wislang, solid citizen, you might say.
Responsible for a lot of the hard work on board, working the front of the boat. And when we see those manoeuvres of Jenika's down and Genoa's being hoisted and the physical work, it's the likes of Daryl Wislang that do the work. As we look at Camper fully powered up.
Great shots from
it
our
is a
rib
great,
here. Great pictures.
That's a great shot, isn't it?
Sail training ship from the Portuguese Navy there, all fully dressed up, and that's I mean, you know, the Daryl was on there. He's talking about cracking off a bit, easing their sheets a bit onto two sail, reaching. Oh, that's a test
Martin,
for Camper.
While we've been chatting, I've just been looking at the sails. Look at the Genoas of these two boats. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't really know, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Genoa on Puma is a new one. It just looks less round-backed. Look at Camper's Genoa. Now, some of it is the colour, but to me it just looks a bit deeper, a little bit, you know, a little bit hanging out in the leach, and the colour would indicate that it's an older one. I then look at Puma, and the sail looks pretty straight backed. The other thing that I've noticed with that PUMA sail that I haven't seen before is that it's actually got those reefing zippers through the foot. Now we have seen those that same system used on Telefonica. I don't know if you've got a better memory, but I don't think I've seen that on PUMA before. Now, if PUMA have had a sail, I've harped on about sail cards. We'll just wait a bit here.
We've got a jumper going here. This must be Marcelo Balzer off from Lorient, the luxury handbag people. And
Adiós.
Adios, adios.
Que lo paséis muy bien, Suerte. 2 y 3.
Oh, here he goes. Oh, reverse flip, that one. Very good. So people are waiting there to pick up. I think we might be going to Brad Jackson. And Brad Jackson out on PUMA. What a great start you've enjoyed.
Yeah, hi Martin. Yeah, it was a pretty good start for us, and it's nice to get out of here and in the front and get out to the new breeze. I think we've got the right jib on, so that's good. I think the guys behind might have to change jibs. Come on a bit, Colin.
Well, we were just talking
all
about...
good at the moment.
Brad, I've just been talking about your jib. Just, I haven't seen that sail before. Is that actually a new one?
No, it's this was new in Miami.
New in Miami, so it's pretty new because, you know, in the inshore races, we haven't seen you use a Genoa that's got a zipper in the foot of it. So your one certainly looks a bit straighter back than the one on Camper.
Yeah, it's well, we've got a J2 on, Camper's got a G1 on, so you know we're a bit underpowered back there, and that's why Camper came into us a bit under the bridge and through that section. But now we're in the sails range, so you know should be good.
Great start, as we were saying, for you, Brad. I mean, that sort of would lift you somewhat, wouldn't it? I mean, when you can look back at the fleet so far behind you after such a short distance. Great start.
Oh, for sure. You know, it's always nice to get out in front. We haven't done a whole lot of that. We've always been catching up all the time, so it's nice to get out in front and get offshore and get into it. So no, we're very happy.
What are you anticipating?
Weather-wise, or
weather-wise, and how you will play it.
We're just going to put the foot down and go for it. I don't care what the weather is.
Good attitude, Brad. Look, thanks very much for talking to us, Brad. Take care out there. When we know it's going to get a bit rough later on, and look after yourselves and your boats, and good luck.
Okay, thanks, guys. See you later.
Great to be able to talk to these guys. Rob Greenhalgh, can you hear us there?
Yes, I can.
Oh, what a splendid recovery. How did you manage to do that after that fairly disastrous opening bit?
Yeah, we didn't get our boat handling quite right at the start there, but we kind of knew. A bit more jibbies, please. We kind of... And again, sidebar. We kind of knew what was going to pay down the run, and it worked out for us. We stayed in the breeze and sailed around the outside of the other boats. So, you know, long way to go. It may not make too much difference.
They're probably not lying in that here.
Well, so it's good for morale now. This is going to be a pretty tough leg. What do you think is going to be the hardest part of it for you?
Still may not. Obviously, you know, we've probably got a bit of a boat speed deficit going to the Azores. Then we're going to have a tricky transition in the Azores, and hopefully we're still in a position there to attack down the breezy run to the finish. So, you know, it's going to be pretty intense.
What does it do for your confidence, given what you did in the Atlantic getting into Lisbon?
You know, DMG running in breeze, we're pretty happy. So we've just got to get to that point and not be too far behind, and then I think we'll have a shot at anyone.
It's going to get pretty rugged at the end. We wish you well. Rob Greenhalgh, thanks for talking to us. Looking spectacular there on Abu Dhabi.
Cheers,
fast upwind.
Very cool. Not sure who was louder there, Rob or Ian Walker standing on the back calling the shot. So there's Abu Dhabi flying along at 13, 14 knots. And you can see how the fleet has spread out, and there is the Atlantic. And what does that hold in store for these guys later on? A fair old mixture. Sanya there flying its Chinese flag out the back, and they've hung in pretty well.
Yeah, they have, Martin. We're on board Mike Sanderson. It's just interesting to look at the setups on board the boat, who's using what. I thought it was quite revealing that what Brad Jackson was talking about, you know, they did have a new Genoa for Miami, so it's only really done one leg.
Well, I mean, I think you were talking about the paint job on Camper looking a little bit faded. I thought the paint worked that because they do just paint the sails. I thought that, and that gets a bit on Puma it looked a lot smarter than the rest.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the teams, because the paint's quite heavy when they put it on the sails. Yeah. And they, when it gets a little bit thin like that, some of it is just, they put it pretty well on like an undercoat so they don't add too much weight to the sail.
Significant.
And I know Camper have worked hard on minimising the weight gain through painting the sails.
Tiger, Teng Jianghe from China in the giving somebody a bit of a wave there, and now leaping up onto the ground and getting into his way. Mark Cavell, where are you?
Well, we've just watched Abu Dhabi come past while you were speaking to Rob there. And while he was speaking to you, he was getting out of his duties because the rest of the crew were busy stacking the sails, which is one of these chores that the sailors really hate. It's basically getting every single bit of loose weight, all the sails, a lot of the equipment down below, all the wet weather gear and the oilskins up onto the windward side. And we've seen that as all the boats come past us, the crew are fully stacking the boats, and that's really to flatten the boat down, and it really does play a big part of this boat speed.
Yeah, we're just watching them stack up on build the stack on Telefonica, all that stuff being piled up there on the starboard side, on the windward side. So this would indicate, and I think they've got a long way to go on this tack peak.
Yeah, they have got a lot, and they'll stack and grind. So the sails are brought up on deck, they're lashed down and secured, and what that does just adds weight on the windward side, and the weight equates to power. And of course, power equates to, or righting moment equates to, you know, better speed. Mark, I've just been following the blog a little bit, and we talked earlier about the zippers on Puma on their Genoa for reefing. Do you just want to answer that one for our punter on the net? How does that work? How does the zipper reefing system work on a Genoa?
Well, it's just the same as it's a shortening sail, and that's one way using modern technology. The zips are much stronger than the old furl and reef knots that you used to see on the boats in the dark ages. But no, it's these zippers literally just zip it up, and it takes a slice, a whole chunk and portion out of the sail. And certainly along the foot, it's incredible the power of some of the bow waves catching the bottom of these head sails, and that can certainly reduce the drag and shorten sail.
Yeah, certainly in the ocean it's good to get the foot out of the water with the water, you know, crashing over the deck, and it powers into the foot of the sail by putting in a very, like a mini reef like they do into the Genoas. It means that the water can pass between the foot of the Genoa and the deck without really damaging the sail. But yeah, it's good, these innovations. We have seen that zipping system on board Telefonica, but not on this sail. It looks like Martin is trying to see, we've got a bit of aerial action.
It's like a pit special, isn't it?
One thing I'm seeing as all these boats going past is the media crew members working very hard still, filming and bringing you all this onboard action.
Well, we were talking with you just before we left the television broadcast as we watched the acrobatics of this pretty scary plane. I hope you realise there's a mouse sticking out of the water there. We're talking with you, Mark, about the live crosses that we're going to be doing. That I mean, people are watching this now on VolvoOceanRace.com on the internet, and I can tell you that we're going to be going live to the boats on Monday, June the 11th, Wednesday, June the 13th, then 24 hours before the finish will be Volvo Ocean Race Fan Day. And Pete's talking about being on the blog there, so if you've got questions, then you might get a live answer if you want to send your questions in. And it's really amazing going live onto these boats with the technology that we've got now. And Mark, you talked about the Inmarsat setup. Give us a few of the stats and the way that it bounces around and works, because it's certainly, I've done a number of these broadcasts onto Camper and onto Groupama. particularly in the Southern Ocean, it was extraordinary to be going live onto a boat in the Southern Ocean, doing an interview with the skipper or whoever, watching them having to duck out the way of huge waves crashing over the boat, and you are taken there, and it's pretty amazing. Well,
it really is the key to this race now, with the connectivity, the satellite connectivity we get from the Inmarsat satellite domes, and it allows us to actually broadcast straight pictures and sound, live streaming, and it was very powerful, even watching Nick Dana being interviewed by Volvo's Ricky Deck on the finish. And to actually be live on board at such a tense moment, you really now can see what is going on the water, right in the middle of the action. And you know, that's really been the key for some generations of the race now. Inmarsat has helped bring you these images, but every single race that comes past, the connectivity gets faster, and Inmarsat are looking to put a new satellite up, will really speed up the connectivity, I believe up to 40 times faster in the future, and that'll bring you almost a sort of Big Brother effect. You can actually watch live footage, and there's a lot of debate at the moment about how that's going to affect the race. But
well, we're watching this live now. We're watching a really great interaction here, because the shot we've got is from the helicopter. We're seeing PUMA going round the final mark before they head out into the ocean, and there was waving and cheering from the spectator fleets, acknowledged by the crew, and in every respect now we're so much closer and on board the boats. Pete? Yeah, it's gone a bit quiet there. You can we heard Brad Jackson talking about the Genoa, and they said they're on a G2, and Camper were on a more, which is an uprange wind sail. Camper have got a slightly deeper sail on as they power into that. That's the last turning mark before they head off to the Azores. And it just looked like on Puma that maybe they were setting up for a change of Genoa. Well, you can see that the Camper sail is quite a lot deeper. It's got a lower wind range to get its sweet spot to generate power. So Camper, they're around the mark. They're not that far behind the Camper. Have we got a delta there, or is it 48 seconds? They're hanging in these pictures. They're being brought to us by our media crew member on board, Hamish Hooper, and that's a role that Mark Cavell has had. We're with the chopper now, looking back down on the boat. But Mark, when you were the media crew member, what was the toughest part of it? Because I would have thought it's a pretty hard job. Well, for me, it was always the first night. You hadn't really got your sea legs yet, and you really had to produce the most media, having had the excitement of the race start, and you had to get down and start to edit those images and get them off the boat. But they've really honed the system now. They clip it up and send it off as quick as you like. And well, we're looking down on the Inmarsat, that big dome at the back of the boat that we can see with one of the cameras on top of it. That's the Fleet 500, and that's the big daddy of the setup. They also have a 150, which they get all the, as well as sending information off the boat, obviously they get all the weather data and those dreaded skeds to tell them where they are and how they're doing. It's interesting, actually, Mark. We're looking at down on the stern, and just in front of that dome is Chuni Bermudez, who's won the rear grinder there. Now, correct if I'm wrong, but it's just underneath that rear grinder is where the media station is for the media crewman. So he has to go down, crawl right into the back of the boat. It's dark, noisy, hot, sweaty, thoroughly unpleasant, dark as a bag, and he's, in the case of Hamish Hooper, certainly he sits on a beanbag with his laptop there, trying not to be sick. So it doesn't paint the most delightful picture, really. Well, I was a passionate sailor, and everyone said, well, won't you miss the sailing, because obviously the media crew member isn't allowed to take an active part in sailing. And I got just as passionate about coming up on deck and looking at the light instead of the wind. So we've got a little bit of action on board Puma. That's a staysail going up inside the Genoa. Staysail just really gives like a venturi or a sucking effect. It improves the sail plan, it creates more power, and of course the crossovers of sails has all been perfected in the Volvo Ocean Race, but also in the testing times. So Puma have gone for a bit more horsepower, Abu Dhabi now heeling over nicely, showing a good lick of speed. They've climbed nicely back out from the very back of the fleet up into third spot, cleverly playing the currents and the big ups and downs of pressure. Pretty wet, these boats. Look at them now. I mean, this is comparatively flat water, and already the decks are awash, and it's going to get rather more punchy as they head out. And what a great view of this. Well, we keep saying it's a stunning city, and that's because it is a stunning city.
It's a great shot as we come over the top of Abu Dhabi. They're coming up to that last turning mark. We can see the stack of the sails on the windward side, and this is the team that won leg 7 across the Atlantic. Ian Walker waving. And they've had their moments in this race, Martin, good and bad, but
yeah.
I think all in all, given, you know, they won 2 inshore races, they won
3 inshore races.
3 inshore race, they won the Atlantic leg. Although they're not going to be, I don't think they'll be on the podium for the Volvo Ocean Race. They've shown enough for the team from Abu Dhabi to be pretty happy with their performance.
I think you're right there, particularly that last leg win. It was just very, very cleverly executed. This camera that we're looking at now, this is the one on top of the Inmarsat dome that we've been talking about. And this is the camera where if you have something happen up at the front of the boat, then, or if the incident of any kind, then whoever's nearest hits the sort of, not the panic button, but the sort of emergency button, which will fire the computer to record the previous 4 moments. The thing's ticking away all the time, it keeps recycling, but it would record the previous 4 moments, and that's why we've been able to see such dramatic footage of dramatic action that otherwise would have gone past you in the glimpse of an eye. And I'm thinking in particular of the footage we saw off Camper where they just avoided a whale, and somebody had the presence of mind to hit the button, and we can look back at that and then highlight just the back of the whale dipping over, and the way they had to slew the boat round and just avoid what would have been an absolute catastrophe. Because, Mark, if you hit a big whale in one of these things, you would know all about it, and so would the whale.
Absolutely. No, there's been boats that have hit big Group Armour just coming past us, and really have working that stack. There's sweat dripping off the crew as they're bringing up the all of the sails up, and this is an interesting moment because mentally you're changing from this sort of import quite aggressive, and you're starting to think about sailing into the night, into the days ahead of you, and you're changing your mentality. You're getting the boat ready and set up for that offshore. You know that you're going to be reaching for those oil skins. The watch systems are going to start to come into play, and you're just changing your mentality as you're coming away from the land and heading out into the ocean. And I can tell you, these last few days, and certainly today, the teams would be champing at the bit to get out onto the boats and get out into the ocean. That's what these guys dream of.
We're looking at PUMA and then Camper. PUMA have gone for a staysail, as we see an aerobatics plane come through pretty low, and Camper have not put a staysail on, and PUMA have. But Martin, there's quite a big spread, and I just looked from PUMA right back to Group Armour, right back there. That's a long way behind, and I think Frank Camas would be a little upset that they've lost so much so much ground so quickly early on in this leg of the Volvo Ocean Race.
Well, for something that we've seen finished by minutes, we've talked about how that could happen further down the track. Interesting, listen to Mark talking about your mindset getting into
offshore mode.
Offshore mode. When do you start to get your appetite back, Mark?
Appetite for getting out into the ocean,
or appetite for eating a bite, having a bite to eat?
Oh, absolutely. No, that it's funny. A lot of you get a few sandwiches and a bit of fresh fruit thrown on board for these first few hours, and it's amazing how little gets eaten. But you know, sailors force themselves to get some food and certainly some water down them, and they know that it's important. The energy, incredibly professional. I've never seen anyone come off the rail and into a bunk and shut their eyes and get to sleep as quick as these guys, because they know that in 4 hours' time they're going to be back on the rail.
There's another very interesting factoid relating to the food, that the Volvo Ocean Race was affected by the Japanese earthquake, because Mountain House, which is one of the biggest and best suppliers of freeze-dried food, all their supplies went to the victims of the earthquake. So the provisioning was a bit of a struggle when it comes to the freeze-dried food. They swap it around the crews because they need a little bit of change of appetite and a change of tastes and flavours. So we're coming up towards the end now, where we're going to be losing our signals, and we're still with PUMA.
Here's Brad Jackson. He's trimming the mainsail. We spoke to him earlier as the boats now settled into offshore mode, and PUMA certainly have started this one well. It was interesting that Kenny Reid really took... Martin, you were giving him a bouquet about a start, and he said, well, you know, I stuck it in there and I wanged it, you know. And he
wang it.
But it's a pretty significant lead that he's got, certainly on the people that he needs to beat. Camper are right there with them, but PUMA have jumped ahead. There's Kelvin Harrop and Ken Reid. He's got his wet weather jacket on.
Well, we've had some of our viewers have been staying with us on the satellite, some of our TV stations that we're broadcasting to around the world, and we're going to be losing that satellite in a matter of about 30 seconds. So I'd just like to say we are going to be staying on the net with VolvoOceanRace.com as long as we can keep up a signal, but we're about to lose our viewers around the world via satellite on the TV stations that have been taking us. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage here. We look forward to you joining us again in Lorient as the Volvo Ocean Race reaches its quite extraordinary climax. So to you satellite viewers, we wish you farewell for now, and we'll be back on the net.